I forgot to add this to my review, but here is Michael Cudlitz explains. This is from TV Insider. Does Lex Luthor hate Superman and Lois? So here Lex is confronting, walking with his secretary. That's his secretary right there, right? So they're plotting and plotting and plotting. They're always plotting, right? He wanted to buy this place. He didn't want to. I like this scene because she's telling him, well, why don't you just fix it up, make it look nice? And like, no, I like it the way it is. It's better than being in a prison. So at the San Diego Comic Con panel, Bitsy Taylor showrunners, why is that in the way? Okay, I'm having problems reading this without things popping up. So while you're looking at Action Comics number 23 from 1940, let me go ahead and look at the questionnaire. Uh, I saw your IG post about how this was one of the jobs you will forever remember. What's so special about this? Michael Cudlitz says, oh my gosh, well, first off, I don't even know, but it's Lex Luthor, come on. But look, when I came on the show, it was a very successful show. I could not have been more welcomed by Bitsy and Tyler, the creative team, and the whole rest of the entire cast. It's rare what happens to that extent. That being said, I did have a similar experience when I came on to The Walking Dead. I think it was Abraham, right? So I don't offend The Walking Dead. I'm not a huge Walking Dead fan, but I get it. So it just makes everything better. You're just starting at a better place. Everybody's relaxed. Everybody's confident in what they're doing. There's a level of trust, and from a creative standpoint, they kind of they let me take what they wrote and just run with it. The interviewer remarks that this is a different kind of Lex Luthor. He's more grounded. Michael says this is a character that is so well known and known in different ways, depending on what segment of the fan base that you land in, how old you are, which graphic novels or comics you read, which TV shows you watch, which movies you watch. So there's a long lineage of Lex. He's been done very well, and he's crashed and burned a couple of times. So coming onto this show, having them trust me and say, let's see your take on it, was just fantastic. It's such a gift. It's almost like a grassroots version of Lex, the interviewer says. Michael says, I would not push back on that. I think that the specific issue Lex has, the fact that it's so close to him and his family instead of an idea, quote unquote, that he's fighting for, is that there's the hatred of Superman and the hatred of aliens. He literally is all the things he hates or professes he hates. And this really brings it to a personal level, the story we're telling. People have said that he's a much darker Lex, and I would argue that he's incredibly passionate about what he's fighting for and is willing to do anything to right this wrong. Interviewer says, I was saying that he's probably the most in-pain Lex that we've ever seen. Michael says, oh, 100%, 100%. All of it comes from pain. And that humanizes him? Michael says, well, we hope it's something that does. Obviously, through the season, we deal with the processing of this loss he's had. We saw last season what brought him to their doorstep, literally and figuratively. Remember Lex Luthor took that long walk from the prison to Lois's house, to Clark and Lois's house, the Kent home, the Kent farm. We will take that to its logical end. So yeah, he does not like either one, neither Clark nor Superman, nor Lois or the kids. The next question is, the season is adapting the comic book story The Death of Superman, I remember. So does this mean we're going to see a lot of Lex versus Lois? Michael says, I want to make sure I'm not slipping into anything that will be spoilerish for the audience. But yes, absolutely. In his mind, she is the cause of his imprisonment. So there is a refocus of his ire, but trust me, he has issues with Superman too. Given that Lex also blames Lois and Superman for destroying his relationship with his daughter, how much of a threat is Lex to the Kent kids, Michael Bishop and Alex Garfin? Well, it's safe to say that Lex has a problem with the entire family. And what can you tell about his new ally, Amanda McCoy? Oh, that's it. It's Amanda McCoy. I wasn't sure. It wasn't Gretchen Kelly, because that was Rebecca Stab. So this is Amanda McCoy. And I remember her. I remember her from the comic books. Because she comes up in the first episode, I found her to be fascinating, but also very seemingly tormented. Michael says, Yvonne Chapman, who plays Amanda, is incredible. I won't go too much into that other than to say that she is integral in Lex's world, and the comic book fans will remember her. This is not the Arrowverse. We have our own world, and within that world, we borrow elements from many other worlds to create it. And they're all true and all sort of feed off each other and are complementary, including from where we meet Lex, where he has last season, and with a full head of red hair, which is very accurate to how we meet him in 1940. So we sort of play with that evolution of Lex's, and I think the audience is going to find it incredibly, incredibly satisfying. And Amanda holds a lot of power, the interviewer says. Michael says Luthor Corp will still is still running was still running when he was in prison, and I could say this: Amanda has been running Luthor Corp for him. Have you heard or spoken to any past Lexes? I'd met. I remember the interview well too. I had met Michael Rosenbaum previously at conventions and in passing. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I did an interview with him for his podcast when I was up shooting Clarice in Toronto. And we had a fantastic, fantastic interview. I think is that the what is it? The Silence of the Lambs spinoff. I remember. I don't know if that was it. We had a fantastic, fantastic interview. None of this was even in the works yet. Obviously, it was 2 years prior. I know John Cryer has said something nice to sort of ease the fans who were upset that he was not moving over from Supergirl. But I don't think that Michael has really been interviewed or asked specifically about it. Look, we who do this understand it's different worlds, different actors, different places in time. Nobody got fired, so I could do Lex. It's a different Lex in a different world. I can only imagine that Michael will be very pleased. Yeah, very, very different. Not This is not John Cryer Lex. Lex also brings with him a very cool partner in crime in Doomsday. Although, can anyone control that monster? Remember, Doomsday's still on the damn loose for the next few episodes. I would say Lex feels that Doomsday at some point becomes an extension of himself and, in a way, a surrogate child to do his bidding. We'll see how that plays out. We created the Frankenstein monster, but what have we really created? You mentioned how each person comes to these characters based on their generation and the content they consumed. What helped you most with your Lex? There are some things that are constant in Lex, and I think Brian Azzarello did a wonderful graphic novel series called Lex Luthor Man of Steel. I have the first issue, really good. I didn't like the other issues though. Literally on Lex and from Lex's perspective. I got a tremendous amount of insight from that. I remember, well, what does he say? But you are, what is it? All men are created equal. All men, you are not a man. You know, that's what Lex says while he's watching Superman on TV. I got a tremendous amount of insight from that, at least from where I base my psychology of Lex. It is based on someone who's an expert in the field, and he really capsulized and summarized Lex's perspective really wonderfully through his storytelling. The whole thing has been an incredible, incredible experience. And I honestly can't wait to share this one with the CW audience and ultimately the world. I think that's that the showrunners Todd and Brett do an incredible job with. In most cases, I say, tell your story the way you want to tell your story. Don't worry about the fans because the fans have grabbed onto something you love, and now you're taking them on a ride. And in this case, I kind of bend that because they did what they wanted to do. The show is ending, so they had enough time to end it the way they wanted to end it. So they are still aware what the fans are going to hope for and expect. And I feel there's an incredible amount of fan service done with how the show is ending, tying up loose ends, leaving things open that shouldn't be left open, and really just taking them on a fantastic ride. I have seen the finale, and it's incredible. I was lucky enough, also throughout the series I directed, and was really, really pleased with it. Oh, so he got to direct. Oh, we got to watch out for that one episode. So we'll watch out for that. I also got to work with some of the other cast members I didn't get to work with when I was playing Lex. So I really did get to work with, I think, the entire cast. Actually, the fans will be, let's just say we don't Tony Soprano them. We don't Tony Soprano them. Oh, God. It'll be interesting to see Lex and John Henry Irons. There was a little bit of like back and forth between the two characters, like in the animated series. Well, thank God. Now, before you go, I need to know you were a recurring guest on Beverly Hills 90210 back in the day. You were also a construction guy in the show's crew. How does that happen? See, I'm glad you brought this up, and I'm going to bend your brain. I was the construction coordinator on Beverly Hills 90210 while I was acting on the show. So while I was pursuing my career, I actually booked a river runs through it while I was doing it too. So I had to take a bit of time off. I had to leave. So he did all kinds of stuff. So this was a good interview. Didn't bring up Shannon Doherty, but yeah, Shannon Doherty. He did bring it up in the previous interview. That's great. I was just checking a couple of notes here. Wow. So, yeah, that was the interview. TV Insider. I think he did a fantastic job. This is just kind of a follow-up to the previous video because I was supposed to add this on. So there's Lex. There's Superman tearing apart Lex's dirigible from Action Comics 23, the first appearance of Luthor in 1940. And somebody had made him bald based on the Ultra Humanite. So, yeah, this is the end. And, yeah, this is the end of this video. And there's Jerry Siegel. I think Jerry Siegel would like this version. What do you think? Write in your comments if you think Jerry Siegel would have liked Michael Cudlitz's version. The last two Luthors wore beards, right? The one from Teen Titans, and then this one. Do you think he should have the beard? Now, I remember Michael Cudlitz's performance in, oh my gosh, Southland. And he was very good throughout those 5 seasons. If you've seen his performance in Southland, you are not going to be disappointed here. So let's follow these episodes to the very end. I know Angry Joe's been cynical about it, but if at least an Angry Joe fan is watching, this is not season 1 and 2. This is not season 1 and 2. All right, more content to come.